Hi, boys and girls. This is Mrs. Joyce-Martin. And while we're at home, I hope you're all doing well and staying safe, and washing your hands and listening to your parents and being respectful. I'm going to read you some Harry Potter from where we left off in the classroom, and I took pictures of the pages so you can follow along. So we'll spend our time together still reading Harry Potter, and I'll also send you some science experiments in between. Okay, so here we go. Okay, so I have to apologize for the white line down the screen. I have a crack in my computer screen while I'm doing this. So we're going to start where the green dot is. They didn't stop to eat or drink all day. By nightfall, Dudley was howling. He'd never had such a bad day in his life. He was hungry. He'd missed 5 television programs he had wanted to see, and he had never gone so long without blowing up an alien on his computer. Uncle Vernon stopped at last outside a gloomy-looking hotel on the outskirts of a big city. Dudley and Harry shared a room with twin beds and damp, musty sheets. Dudley snored, but Harry stayed awake, sitting on the windowsill, staring down at the lights of passing cars and wondering. They ate stale cornflakes and cold tinned tomatoes on toast for breakfast the next day. They had just finished when the owner of the hotel came over to their table. "Excuse me, but is one of you Mr. H. Potter? I only got 100 of these at the front desk." She held up a letter so they could read the green ink address. Mr. H. Potter, Room 17, Railview Hotel, Cokeworth. Harry made a grab for the letter, but Uncle Vernon knocked his hand out of the way. The woman stared. "I'll take them," said Uncle Vernon, standing up quickly and following her from the dining room. "Wouldn't it be better just to go home, dear?" Aunt Petunia asked timidly several hours later, but Uncle Vernon didn't seem to hear her. Exactly what he was looking for, none of them knew. He drove them to the middle of a forest, got out and looked around, shook his head, got back in the car, and off they went again. The same thing happened again in the middle of a plow field, halfway across the suspension bridge, and at the top of a multi-story car park. "Daddy's gone mad, hasn't he?" Dudley asked Aunt Petunia dully that afternoon. Uncle Vernon parked his car at the coast, locked them all inside the car, and disappeared. It started to rain. Great drops beat down on the roof of the car. Dudley sniveled. "It's Monday," he told his mother. "The great Humberto's on tonight. I want to stay somewhere with a television." Monday. This reminded Harry of something. If it was Monday, and you could usually count on Dudley to know the days of the week because of the television, then tomorrow, Tuesday, was Harry's 11th birthday. Of course his birthdays weren't exactly fun. Last year's the Dursleys had given him a coat hanger and a pair of Uncle Vernon's old socks. Still, you weren't 11 every day. Uncle Vernon was back and he was smiling. He was also carrying a long, thin package and didn't answer Aunt Petunia when she asked what he'd bought. "Found the perfect place," he said. "Come on, everyone out." It was very cold outside the car, and Uncle Vernon was pointing at what looked like a large rock way out to the sea. Perched on top of the rock was the most miserable-looking shack you could imagine. One thing was certain, there was no TV in there. "Storm forecast for tonight," said Uncle Vernon, gleefully clapping his hands together, "and this gentleman's kindly agreed to lend us his boat." A toothless old man came ambling up to them, pointing with a rather wicked grin at an old rowing boat bobbing in the iron-gray water below. "I've already got some rations," said Uncle Vernon, "so all aboard." It was freezing in the boat. Icy spray and rain crept down their neck, and chilly wind whipped their faces. After what seemed like hours, they reached the rock, where Uncle Vernon, slipping and sliding, led the way to the broken-down house. The inside was horrible. It smelled strongly of seaweed. The wind whistled through the gaps in the wooden walls. Was damp and empty. There were only 2 rooms. Uncle Vernon's rations turned out to be a packet of crisps each and 4 bananas. He tried to start the fire, but the empty crisp packets just smoked and shriveled up. "Could do with some of those letters now, eh?" he said cheerfully. He was in a good mood. Obviously, he thought no one stood a chance of reaching them in the storm to deliver post. He privately agreed, though it didn't cheer him up. Harry privately agreed, although it didn't cheer him up at all. As night fell, the storm blew up around them. Spray from high waves splattered the walls of the hut, and a fierce wind rattled the filthy windows. Aunt Petunia found a few moldy blankets in the second room and made up a bed for Dudley on the moth-eaten sofa. She and Uncle Vernon went off to the lumpy bed next door, and Harry was left to find the softest bit of floor he could and curl up under the thinnest, most ragged blanket. The storm raged more and more ferociously as the night went on, and Harry couldn't sleep. He shivered and turned over, trying to get comfortable. His stomach grumbled with hunger. Dudley's snores were drowned by low rolls of thunder that started around midnight. The lighted dial of Dudley's watch, which was dangling over the edge of the sofa on his fat wrist, told Harry he would be 11 in 10 minutes' time. He lay and watched his birthday tick nearer, wondering if the Dursleys would remember it all, wondering where the letter writer was now. 5 minutes to go. Harry heard something creak outside. He hoped the roof wasn't going to fall in, though he might be warmer if it did. 4 minutes to go. Maybe the house on Privet Drive would be so full of letters when they got back that he'd be able to steal one somehow. 3 minutes to go. Was that the sea slapping so hard on the rock like that? And 2 minutes to go. What was that funny crunching noise? Was that the rock crumbling into the sea? 1 minute to go, and he'd be 11. 30 seconds, 20, 10, 9. Maybe he'd wake Dudley up just to annoy him. 3, 2, 1, boom. The whole shack shivered, and Harry sat bolt upright, staring at the door. Someone was outside, knocking to come in. So, boys and girls, I hope you enjoyed this little reading, and I want you to think of some of these questions. What did Harry try to grab from Uncle Vernon? Where did Uncle Vernon take his family by boat? What day of the week is it? What day is Harry's birthday? How old will Harry be? And who do you think is knocking on the door outside? Well, I'll talk to you later, and I hope you're interested in the story. Take care of yourselves, and I'll talk to you soon.